Today is Wednesday, August 11. I'm Pastor Michael, and this is Wilderness Wanderings. Our text is from Deuteronomy 1. Then I said to you, do not be terrified. Do not be afraid of them. The Lord your God, who is going before you, will fight for you, as he did for you in Egypt, before your very eyes, and in the wilderness. There you saw how the Lord your God carried you as a father carries his son, all the way you went until you reached this place. It used to be that on the first day of my work week, I needed to pick the texts for the following Sunday's sermons. In those moments, the Bible seemed like a very big book. I did not enjoy that exercise. Some years ago, I learned that it was much simpler to prepare a series or to use a Common Lectionary. The same thing has been true with these wilderness wanderings. I had made no plans for post-vacation. So let's spend some time together in the book of Deuteronomy. It's a series of sermons or lectures Moses gave to Israel before he died. His intention was to help God's people to finally live in the promised land. Hopefully we are exiting the wilderness of COVID-19, and Deuteronomy might have some wisdom for us as we emerge into a new normal. It's not that we're going into the promised land. In fact, our road still seems quite uncertain. Uncertainty tends to breed fear. Our text for today addresses this reality. A whole generation of Israelites have traveled in the wilderness. It's the only home they knew. Traveling the wilderness was their way of life. There was security in the familiar. Now they had to go fight enemies and settle down in cities. Moses begins by reminding them of the last time Israel had stood at the doorstep of the promised land. Their parents had been afraid too. They could not overcome their fear. As Moses tells this story, he is essentially saying, don't be like your parents living in fear. Trust the Lord. What I find interesting is the way Moses encourages Israel to overcome her fear. We might think a really dazzling sermon on trust would do the trick, or maybe a dramatic children's story. But none of that for Moses. Instead, he tells Israel to remember. Remember how God fought for them in Egypt, leaving Pharaoh impotent to stop Israel's departure. Remember how God carried her through the desert like a parent carries a child. This is the key to overcoming fear, to see God, to remember. The God who led them this far is going to lead them into the promised land. He will settle them in green pastures and beside still waters. I think Jesus took up Moses' mantra when he told his disciples to consider the birds and the flowers and the grass. Look at what God does. Look how God cares for them. How much more will he not care for us? Yes, the future is quite uncertain. There is plenty of reason to be afraid. We can look at all the obstacles. We can look at all the unknowns. But Moses and Jesus both encourage us to look to God and remember what he has done. He has been with his people since the beginning. There is no need to fear that he will abandon us now. I'm reminded of a quote I tucked away long ago. I am inwardly fashioned for faith, not for fear. Fear is not my native land. Faith is. I am so made that worry and anxiety are sand in the machinery of life. Faith is oil. I live better by faith and confidence than by fear, doubt, and anxiety. In anxiety and worry, my being is gasping for breath. These are not my native air. But in faith and confidence, I breathe freely. These are my native air. That's by Dr. E. Stanley Jones. As you journey on, go with the blessing of God. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you, wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness, protect you through the storm. May he bring you home rejoicing at the wonders he has shown you. May he bring you home rejoicing once again to our doors.